Hello, it's been a while since I've been here. I'm coming here to do a book tag, which is called If I Owned a Bookshop, Bookstore tag. And I'm tagging this as being a special framed version for Framed in September. So I'm doing two things at once. So, if I owned a bookstore tag, and why is it going to be different for Framed in September version? Well, here are my thoughts. I've been thinking in a joined up way about art, and I have written down this little notebook, lots of ideas, and because they were flowing thick and fast, I just wrote them down, and they're out of order to the questions, and I think maybe I'll edit in the questions on the video to give you some idea of where we're going, but it should cover most of the bases. Okay, so let's just jump in. I would like to have a store that emphasises people, books and conversation. One that provides an experience and a sense of community. And I think that's really, really key. Where books can be bought online, downloaded straight to your ebooks. Why would you go into a bookshop at all? It has to be an experience. There has to be something joyful about it, that like you're coming in, you're seeing people, you're having chats. It's like the most fabulous place to read books that you would love to be in and you want to stay. So you have to really woo those customers and have a sense. I'm going to go there. It's going to be a lovely place. I'm going to find books I haven't seen before. I'm going to meet interesting people. I'm going to have chats, and there's some kind of community event that I can pop into if I want to, or not. It's very easy. So the bookstore centres on the arts, maybe located near a university, not quite sure about that, if there's one that does liberal arts, but then students do like their money, so they're not going to be big spenders. And I want the store to provide a place where people who know about books can connect with folks who would like to and don't quite know. So it's going to sell new books and second-hand books. So there's going to be books for every price group, every price range, because sometimes, let's face it, there are books that we want quickly and cheaply to take on holiday and read, or there's ones that we want to spend the money on. And the whole idea about the bookstore is, and this is near and dear to our hearts in Bookshop, is that it's going to be beautifully curated. I mean, it's going to be so enticing that you could walk in and you will find books that you just have to have and leave with. Now, why I'm saying that is I have been in just such a place. I have been in a very, very small bookshop, but it was so beautifully curated. Every book in it was such a delight that it was full of temptation to buy books. It was astounding, way above the amount that you would maybe find in an extremely large store on a main street. And it was called Aberfeldy Watermill Bookshop. And in fact, it won an award as an independent bookstore one year. And I could tell why. It just was fabulous. Now, it again was a bookstore on one or two floors, but there were other things that were part of the same complex. So the bottom floor was a beautiful coffee shop, and then if you wanted the books, you went up a level, and then a level above that there were art things for sale. And this is what I'm thinking about for my bookstore, that it's going to be not just something that sells books, but it's linked into the whole idea of arts and the community, encouraging other people to become writers, as well as encouraging them to become readers, as well as encouraging them to think about other things like film and other arts and enjoy them all together. And this is why it ticks boxes for Framed in September. It's the arts together with the books. Okay, let's read on. I'm having it tied in with the art centres around about it. In fact, as I've thought about it, it's become more and more like a little art centre in itself, that I would like there to be a space where there would be book readings and there would be open mic poetry readings now and then, and there would be different things going on and being encouraged in terms of the arts. And I would like it to be tied into other local arts places, which, you know, a local art place can be a pub, a place of performance, and so aware of the events that are upcoming that they will have books. We will have books in which are especially about that area. Not a whole lot, but say the 8 key books in that area So say a musician is performing locally, there's going to be a special display about that kind of music and local music and history of music, and if the person probably won't be well enough known, but if they were, be something about him. When the independent cinema in the nearby is running a short film festival, there would be stocking things, beginner's guides, especially about that particular kind of film. So for example, if there's a French film festival, short French film festival, we would have books about the background of that. So if there's anything anybody wants to go to in the arts locally and they think, oh, I don't know anything about that, I don't know anything about that opera, I don't know anything about that style of music, they know they can come into the store and right at the front there's going to be a little display of, as I say, maybe 5 to 10 books on that subject that will bring you in to know more about it in different ways. Non-fiction and fiction as well, so something for everybody. So I would be aiming to be linked in a lot with the local arts programmers and officers, and always in communication and with the bookshop, and becoming a symbiotic relationship where we're supporting each other's events in as many ways as possible and linking them all together, and therefore extending the audience for anything any of us is doing. And it will be making then arts accessible for people who would not have been used maybe to think about that, and people who think, as I say, I don't know how to get into that kind of film or music. It gives them a way in. Is there coffee and alcohol? Yes, there's going to be a cafe. It's going to be run by a friend of mine who thinks about food as a kind of art form. She's just fabulous and exciting, but has a very good business head as well. So it will have to cover its overheads. And having that coffee place is a chance to linger and make it a meeting place. Seats and seating in the bookshop. Yes, there's going to be different comfy chairs. They're not going to be all the same. They're going to be each unique, slightly different, with a table alongside for comparing books. And because it's an arts specialising bookshop, though it's stocking all different kinds of books, there's going to be one that's longer and wider where you can actually open art books, which tend to be very large, sometimes the big expensive fabulous ones, or coffee table books, for example, maybe books that are photography and travel. They tend to be quite large as well. There's space for that, but mostly individual little seats with a small table alongside so you can compare books, because book juggling does not work. I have been into fantastic libraries, for example, and had about 8 books and I wasn't sure which one to borrow, but I couldn't get a space to sit down and do that shuffle through. That means you get down to the few that you desperately want to have, that you definitely know are worth keeping, and the rest you put away. So we all need that space to read. Now, I'm going to have special reading nights. Just the right angle and looking down, but you have to click on a wee chain for it to come on, and it's timed to go off in 10 minutes, and then it will remain off for 1 minute. So this means you're not going to get somebody coming along and hogging a whole chair for the whole afternoon while other people are standing around desperately wanting to sit down and look through their books. 10 minutes, and there's a little sign that says that, so you know you're on borrowed time. And that 1 minute for it being off means that will be different, and these will be in slightly darkened spaces, so you need that light on to read the books. Okay, question about music. Background music, I think maybe yes, but very, very low and instrumental, just to cover the sound of the feet on the stairs, because there's going to be stairs, it's going to be multiple levels. And music that is medium to slow pace, that's quite tricky to find instrumental, relaxing music, but that's what is needed, I think, for the space. I have gone to read a book in a coffee shop in the past, and I felt that the music wasn't fast, but it was wordy, and it was a singer-songwriter, and it was full of somebody singing their woes, and I couldn't settle to my book. Words disturbed me. And on the other hand, you have stores that play really fast music, and it's at a particular time of day to get the customers out, and you can feel it. You can feel unsettled. None of that. Background music. There's going to be really good toilets. Sparkly clean, because I have gone to really good bookstores and really good cafes and really good restaurants. And then when it's come time to go and actually visit the ladies, you walk in and you just think, why did I come into this place? It's a hellhole. It just lowers your confidence in everything else that's going on in that building, no matter how fabulous it seems. Okay, when you go to shop, staff will keep a pile of books to one side with your name on it for 2 hours. So you're not having to lug lots of books. It's going to encourage more buying because you know there's a certain amount there. We're going to have, I've been thinking about this, possibly a Steve Donahue video link in. So for 30 minutes or an hour a day, once a week maybe, or something special, Steve will do a consultation by video with people who want to buy books and don't know where to start, for which of course he would be paid. And feeling his availability, somebody else who is very knowledgeable about books and loves recommending them. The opening hours, right, when can you come to this bookstore? It's going to be open from 11 a.m. because people aren't really interested, I think, in buying books before that. So we're open around about time for brunch 11sies, which helps the cafe. And at lunchtime, there will be a book reading, and you can get a bag lunch from the cafe, or you can bring your own. And the bookshop will close temporarily at 4 in the afternoon, and then it will open again between 6 to 9 for the evening events, which might not be evening events every night of the week, but there will be a couple of nights at least. Now there's going to be a separate room with a big table, bookable for reading groups, and it's to bring your own bottle. So there can be alcohol, but you have to bring your own. That's the way it's set. And obviously running reading groups, they would either pay for the room or else they would book all their books purchasing through us. But there would certainly be a supportive atmosphere where they would be helped for finding books and accessibility and recommendations and so forth. Okay, the bookshop would be open on a Sunday, and it's also going to run writing circles inside that bookable room at the weekend or other times. So if you have local writing tutors, they can book the room and use it, and it's got this big table in the middle and the chairs around, so it's perfect for that. Now one floor, the top floor, is going to be a literary agents or a small publishing house, just to kind of keep the throughput of what's happening. So you may come to the writing group and after a while become confident enough to submit a manuscript to the literary agent and maybe it becomes published. So there's going to be a lot of space for small publishing contacts. Let's see, have I covered the odds? Obviously these things normally are difficult to run at a profit. It might be a not-for-profit. It might be supported by local council because it's encouraging arts and running community things, events. I've done the operating hours. I have done the music playing, coffee and alcohol is covered, basic setup of the store, live entertainment, community events, those have been mentioned in passing. Store location, not quite sure where that is. And I have not covered question 7, external appearance, because I think that will follow. Obviously you want it to be a fairly interesting, inviting, standout colour. I'm not looking for a conservative dark green that disappears into the background. Something inviting, slightly brighter than a colour you would normally live with in your house on the outside. If there was space in corridors or a larger space, I think I would like to occasionally have an art exhibition as well for artists who don't have a lot of work to show. The book specialities would reflect the taste of the shop owner, which is providing, especially for the arts, but also across the arts, across the literature as well, general reading, a really good book, maybe even a separate small room that is Penguin classic books, both classic, ancient and modern, for people who want to start extending their reading and aren't quite sure where to start. That kind of a room you could go into. Obviously there will be a very large poetry section, and I would like to have a poetry mic night. and probably a poetry writing group as part of the writing groups especially. The name, I would call it the same as my Instagram, which is comma and, that sense that there is always more to be included. And of course I think all the arts feeding in together are great. I think also for the creative writing groups they could be not only writing short stories, flash fiction, so forth, but things like writing for film, writing about film stuff, criticism, and yeah, I think there's a lot of scope for different ways to incorporate music listening, music appreciation, and signposting obviously local events for performance for part of that, and just having it a place that you want to come into because there's always going to be something new, and what's happening locally is going to be, that's going to be where you're going to find out about it, you're going to be informed about it and feel like you want to go. We'll find out enough information to decide if you want to go or not. And I hope anybody that comes across the door, whether they have not read books for a long time, they're an avid reader, or they're somebody who wants to start writing, there's someone who have been writing for a while but haven't found a place to share that with other people, to get feedback, all of that. And obviously if there's a medium-sized room to show little short films that would be too small to be in even a local independent cinema, that if somebody has had gone to university and made a film, a short film, that people could see it, or just discussion things and different things happening at the drop of a hat in a way, but giving people a chance to show what they're making creatively, have other people chat with them about it and encourage others. Does that sound like a bookshop you would like to visit? I'd be interested to hear your comments. Those are my thoughts for a framed in September bookstore. Bye for now.